From your initial assumptions, you might assume the Phantasm is better for single target. And you're right, combined with Holy Arrows, the Phantasm absolutely wrecks the Vortex Speeder if all its stars are allowed to land. However, real scenarios are often much different in this test setup right here. Take, for example, the one thing ahead of you, the Moonlord fight. Both you and the Moonlord are moving relatively quickly here, meaning a good amount of your Holy Stars and Arrows are going to miss. This means the Vortex Speeder typically equals or beats the Phantasm damage in this fight. The Phantasm is more raw DPS, but the homing on both the rockets and bullets of the Vortex Speeder ensures a near 100% hit rate, leading to more overall DPS during the boss fight, especially if you dodge rather cautiously. Even if you use Eye-Core or Venom arrows, which would be better than Holy if you miss a majority of your stars, the overall DPS is still lower than the beater. The Vortex Speeder also benefits from the increased range of bullets as well as their strong homing, giving you extra distance and therefore, safety. If you use the Vortex Speeder, you can essentially fight at a distance, since if you use Chlorophyte bullets, the homing is so strong you can reliably hit him from off-screen. And yes, I know some of you can just aim and think the Chlorophyte bullet is a crutch for noobs, and while that is probably partially true, in this case where the boss is off-screen, you literally can't just aim if you want the distance. But back to the point. This extra distance that the bullets allow makes it much easier to dodge his attacks, especially toward the end of the fight when you kill the top eye and remove Phantasmal Death Ray as a threat. The true Eye of Cthulhu Death Rays in particular are heavily range limited, meaning you can largely ignore them from then on. Basically, if you just keep moving away from him like this, it's very hard for him to hit you in this phase. In contrast, the Phantasm requires you to get much closer, not only due to the lack of noticeable homing, but also due to the low speed and gravity loss that plagues arrows. Even with the Magic Quiver or double speed arrows, this fact is noticeable, and requires you to correct for arrow drop on top of aiming and dodging simultaneously. In this case, using the Phantasm requires a much more aggressive playstyle than with the Vortex Speeder. It has the potential for higher DPS, but necessitates close quarters and risky combat. Perhaps in lesser difficulties like Classic or Expert, it would be worth the risk. But since I'm playing on Master, where every Moonlord attack deals 200 damage, I certainly favor caution. Overall though, the ease of use of the beater with Chlorophyte bullets makes me think that it would be the superior option for the Moonlord. As for the Phantasm though, it is noticeably better for events or storms like the Pillars, especially with Holy Arrows. Here, aim doesn't matter as much and distances are smaller. Holy Arrows also create a much greater area of denial than bullets can, which is helpful for keeping enemies at bay. However, the Phantasm isn't a multi-target weapon though, and thus it doesn't excel in the same way as Solar Eruption would, for example. But in my opinion, it is still better than the beater would be. Not to say the beater is bad for Pillars, it has some merits, for example if you want to use nano bullets into the confusion, but the Phantasm would generally be better. Basically, the beater